Hey guys, today I'd like to talk a little bit about some new, or they're not new, but new to y'all, tools that we have not discussed yet in class. They are super awesome and will probably answer some questions you may have been having for yourself. They are called key switches, okay? And what a key switch does is it is an additional key you play along with the key that you want to play, and it tells the note to behave one way or another. And how it behaves depends on what instrument you're playing. The other tool is built into different instruments. Usually it's a real sample, and it is a round robin. And what a round robin does is, rather than when you play one note being the same recording, because with a sample it's a pre-recorded sound, right? Being the same exact recording over and over and over again, they have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different samples of the same source. Say it's a snare drum, whack, 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 whack. If it sounded exactly the same every time, it would sound weird to us because we're used to a real instrument isn't going to be precisely the same every time. And so really high quality instruments will have round robins, and a lot of times, depending on the instrument, they'll have key switches. So I have on my screen here several different instruments that have key switches involved. And I'm just going to open up my contact window, and this is an instrument called Ethno World that has tons of really great instruments from all over the world, recorded by musicians from those parts of the world. So you can even see this is a Zhang harp. Okay. And they even have, information about the Zhang harp, Chinese curved bass zither, and they have different names of it, and they even have the name, or they have the area it's from. Sometimes they have the name of the person that actually played it, but it doesn't look they have it here. And then they have all this interesting information here, okay? The main key patch is G0 to A4, and then they have glissandos and additional effects here. I'll show you that. And then original tones here, and then they have loops. And so it's kind of helpful information to know what key ranges do what. And then over here, it has key switches. It has 4 of them, start on C0. Okay, so inside Contact, if I click on the top here of each instrument, like I have multiple Contact, you can load several different instruments at once, right? So I have this instrument loaded, and down here on the keyboard you can see the notes that you can play, and then usually in a different color they'll have down here. Usually key switches are either really low or really high up. Okay, so in this case the key switches are down low, and then they have those effects that are up high, like glissandos, so we can listen to some of those. And you can play it on a keyboard, and you can see the notes that I'm playing. And then the mod wheel gives it vibrato. So here's no vibrato. And you can see over here I'm affecting and there's also pitch bend. Okay, and then I can also play the instrument by just clicking on it. So up here are the effects. They're not really effects, they're Zhang effects. You can hear the quality of this instrument is just fabulous. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. So key switches, if I'm playing, and you'll also notice, so this instrument has round robin, so if I play the same note, like if I play this E, every time I play it, well, actually this one does not have round robins, never mind, I take it back. You can see the waveform on the screen there. Something changed. Okay, and then it shows me here what my active key switch is, because usually once you activate a key switch, it's going to stay in that sound, that style, until we change it. So let's try out a key switch. So down here, I've got my key switches. You can see if I'm pressing on my keyboard. So here I'm pressing that C, and it's going to say pianoforte velocity. If up here, vibrato. If I hit that D, it's a lick. Slide down, and then pianoforte vibrato lick velocity. So we can hear, and that may or may not mean anything to you, but the main thing is you can just listen to it. So here's like the normal sound. Now I'm going to activate a different key switch, so I need to press that either at the exact same time or before. So I'm going to press it before. So I played the same note, but it sounded completely differently, right? Okay, now I'm going to hit a new key switch. So that's a little bit different kind of a bend. Here's the previous bend. And here's a new one. There's a slide down. And here's a different one. So this had 5 different key switches. I don't know why it said 4 before on their information. It's actually 5. But if you want to get really detailed, that sounds okay, but you could start to sound a little bit more like an actual person playing the instrument. And, depending on how much time you put into it, you can really, really add a couple of little, sometimes you even need to just add a little something here or there, or you'll be like, man, I wish that I could just have it, the pitch bend up a little bit or something, rather than using a pitch bend, which doesn't sound very realistic on a real instrument. The key switch is actually activating a different sample. But you wouldn't want to use like that one back to back. That doesn't sound right. Yeah, that sounds kind of cool, right? Okay, so that's just one example. Okay, and I'm going to ask you guys in the module that I'm going to, it's not the module, it's just an extra assignment, because I love y'all so much, about each of these particular instruments. But there's tons of instruments out there that use it. I was just thinking of ones that it really stands out. So now key switches applied very differently. I have a guitar instrument here, and again, if I click on the upper, kind of this upper window area, you'll see the keyboard shows up down here in contact, and this is a pulse guitar instrument. And so what the key switches do on this instrument is it actually changes what notes you're playing. So all of these are recorded in E minor, and if, hey, I don't want to play E minor the whole time, you can have it switch to a different note. Okay, so this one's a lot different in what the key switches do. And you can only have one key switch activated at a time, because remember, it's telling the note to behave a certain way. Okay, and this is to add more humanization. So, in terms of MIDI editing, we can adjust velocity, we can randomize the time that the notes come so that it's not all right on the beat if we don't want that. And then key switches are a really powerful tool that can really affect the quality of what you're putting out. Okay, and I really encourage you to utilize, when you see that there are key switches, it means, hey, this instrument can do a lot more than just the basic. Okay, so explore what they can do, and I'm going to show you in a few minutes about what you can kind of more applied way to do this, okay? So here's another one. This is just to show you really obvious round robins. So this doesn't have any key switches. This is a really cool, it's called anti-drum because it's percussion, but it's not with drums. It's percussion of all different kinds. Oops, I'm activating more than one thing at a time. Let me change my channel here. Okay, put that on channel 4. Okay, so now I'm gonna hit the same note. You can see, there we go. You'll see I'm hitting this D, but it sounds different every time. I mean, it's the same, but it's the same as if you had, say they had 10 people in the room clapping and they recorded 5 different samples, or it sounds like there's 4 or 5 different keys, 4 or 5 different round robins. And that just gives you, when you're recording, it makes it, or when you're using MIDI, it adds a little bit of life so it doesn't just sound like the same stock sound over and over again. It's going to give a more human sound. So these are round robins are really great for giving a more humanized performance. And if you take my MIDI 2 class, if I teach MIDI 2 in the fall, I'm not sure if we're going to do MIDI 2 or not. I have to talk to Eric, but I'm actually going to show you how to create your own contact instrument and how to use containers to utilize round robins. So a lot of fun, good stuff. Moving on, same thing here with, this is a different, this is called Apocalypse Percussion. And what's cool about this one, if I hit that same note, you hear it sounds different, right? Because when you hit a drum, it's not exactly the same every time. And then this one, they also have, they have the same drum recorded with round robins on 2 different notes. Okay, and so I can get on here, right, and I can really play without, and it sounds really realistic. Okay, so really cool stuff, and again, that's using round robins. And I didn't have to do anything for the round robins, that's built into the instrument. Okay, and I'm going to end this video so it's not forever long, and then we'll do another video here in a minute.